Good morning, all. The screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yesterday we have started with our first unit of the VLSI design and technology, that is the HDL design, in which we are going to study one of the hardware description language, that is the VHDL. We have started with the features of the VHDL language. So VHDL stands for VHSIC, that is very high speed integrated circuits. This is simply the long form of only V. And then HDL stands for hardware description language, the language used to describe your digital design or the hardware in terms of the one of the language. Okay, so we have seen its features of the VHDL in brief yesterday. Also, we have started with the what is the entity part, or how is the design hierarchy and the basic building blocks of this VHDL. So we need to write the entity architecture. We need to include the libraries in our code. So how to write the entity, that we have seen that it is nothing but the simply a pin configuration of your IC, and it lists out all the ports, okay, or all the list of the pins which can be used as input as well as the output. So we have seen one of the example of the entity also. Uh, Next, we are going to see see the modes. So in this entity, we mention the different modes like in mode, out mode. If your pin will be used as an input pin, then we give the mode in for that particular pin. If the pin will be used as out, then we give them mode as a out. So which are the different modes available for this particular entity that we are going to see. So signal in the port has a mode which indicates the driver location. So where the actual signal will be passed, from which point to which point, from input to output or output to input. So it indicates whether or not the port can be read from within the entity, or it will pass the output to the output pin. So there are four different modes available in VHDL: in mode, out mode, in out mode, and the buffer mode. Okay, so one by one we will see what is this in mode, out mode. So the first one is the mode in. So mode in, where value can be read but not assigned. Input pin. So for any input pin, what we generally do, we read the value for that input pin. We don't send any value to the particular pin. Fine. So for this mode in, we generally read the values for that part from that particular pin, and we just mention the keyword in for that particular pin in our entity. Okay, so here whatever the driver that drives the signal, it will reside outside the entity. Okay, it will reside outside the entity because we are just reading the value inside the system. Okay, so here driver will present outside of your this complete entity, that is the mode in. Similarly for mode out, so if your any pin acts as an output, what we generally do, we pass or we drive that particular pin with some value. Either we send the logic 1 or the logic 0 for that particular pin. So here we are assigning a value, right? We are not reading it, but we are assigning the value to the mode out. So for that, your driver, you can see the placement or the position of a driver is inside the entity, which is going to drive that particular pin. Okay. So here the mode will be the out mode. Fine. Simply in and out, we generally use these two things in our uh, we come across this input pin and output pin during the pin configuration of the IC. Next, third one is the in out. So in out means it has both the facilities, reading as well as assigning the value. So it is a bidirectional. Okay, it is a bidirectional. Value can be read. Also, we can assign a new value to that particular pin, so that the drivers may reside both inside as well as the outside. So you can see the two drivers are there for a single pin. So during the read operation, the driver which is outside of the pin will be active, and during writing, the driver which is inside of the entity will be active. Okay, So here you can mention the signal, mention the port as a in out. So we always need a control signal to control the direction of a signal flow, right? Because if you are using both of the modes, okay, but at a time only one of the mode will be activated, and which mode will be activated, that in order to decide that, we need one extra signal, that is the mode control signal. Okay, so there is a need of the additional control signal to activate one of these two modes. Okay, that is the in out. If you see, in case of the flip flops, okay, flip flops using NAND gates, if you recall the diagrams in your whatever you have studied in your digital systems, so there can be the feedbacks you apply from output towards the input, right? So in that case, your particular signal can be in as well as out. So for those signals, you can mention the modes as a in out also. Next is the so buffer. It's specifically an output port with internal read capability. Okay, it has read capability where driver resides inside the entity. So here you can see a simple one example is given, a counter. Okay, count, not a counter. Count where the buffer mode is specified. It actually does not exist in a real life hardware, but included for the simulation or for our convenience purpose. But whenever you are implementing any hardware in real life, for that this mode will not be used. Okay, so this is for our convenience purpose we can include, or for simulation purpose we can include. So basically these four modes we can use in our entity to describe our hardware, where we just concentrate on which are the pins accessible to the user or pins accessible to the external world. Okay, so the next part, it is the architecture. See, in your VHDL code, we generally write entity architecture pair. Okay, so for any of the design, let's say full adder, we need to write its entity as well as an architecture. How to write an entity and what are the different modes that we have seen. The entity just lists out which are the pins act as input, which are the pins act as output. We list only those things in the entity part. Second important part, it is the architecture that we need to mention. So where we actually gives the functionality of that full adder. So how will be the operation of the full adder? How we get the sum and the carries output signals in terms of its input A, B, and C. Okay, so that functionality, defining the functionality, it is done with the help of the architecture. Okay, so this architecture basically specifies the behavior of that particular circuit, its function, and or the relationship between inputs and outputs of an entity. Okay, so this can be defined with the help of the architecture, and based on these, there are different modeling styles of your architecture. This is one of the important part you must know for the architecture, that is the modeling styles of the architecture, means the different ways with which you can write your architecture part, or you can define the functionality of any digital design. Okay, so the general syntax of your architecture is mentioned here. You need to write your architecture in the same format. So what is there? Initially, whatever you are seeing in the pink color, all are the keywords. Okay, keywords means the reserved words. They will be used by they are the reserved for that particular language, and we cannot use them as your identifiers or the user defined names. So architecture is a keyword. Then we need to give the name for our architecture. Okay. Then of is again keyword of entity name. For which entity we are going to write an architecture, for that entity name we have to specify. Okay. Then next one is the is keyword. After that, there is a declarations part. So whatever signal variables you need in your code, that will be declared in this particular section. Okay. After this, there is a begin keyword. In case of C and C++, you find those opening curly brackets and the closing curly brackets to identify the different blocks, right? So here there is a begin statement of the architecture where it will actually start your all the concurrent statement. Okay, so after begin you write the concurrent statements. Concurrent means those statements you write here will be executed at the same time or parallelly. Fine. And after the completion of those statements, there will be the end and the architecture name you have to mention, which is the optional. So this is the general syntax for writing the architecture. So we will see one example of this architecture, how to write it. Fine. So this is equivalent to truth table. Now one of the truth table is mentioned here, A, B, and C. These three are the variables that are used to describe that particular hardware. So what you can see, LL, that is a low, 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 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, and what will be a 1, 1, or the high, high, high. That is the example of the which gate, AND gate, you can see. So this is a truth table of your AND gate. Fine. This is the truth table of your AND gate. How many inputs are there for this AND gate? There are two inputs. One is A and second one is B. And there is a one output. What is that output? The output is C. Fine. So for this AND gate, what we have to do, we are interested to write its VHDL code. Okay. We want to write a VHDL code for this AND gate, and the functionality of this AND gate is specified with the help of this truth table. Fine. So what we always need to write, this is the architecture mentioned here, but we also need the entity, right? We also need the entity, and we have seen how to write the entity. So based on that, how we write an entity, the keyword entity, right? Then name of the keyword entity, and then name of the entity, that is the user defined name. Suppose I am giving the name for this entity is the entity and underscore gate. Okay, entity and gate is. After that, what we write, port. Port is a keyword we write. Then inside this port, what we do, we list out all the inputs and outputs. So for this particular AND gate, how many inputs are there? There are two inputs. One is A and second one is a B. So A comma B, I have mentioned. Then colon we write. Okay, two dots. Two dots. Then we mention the port. So A and B are the inputs. So I will write here in. Okay, I will write here in. Then we need to specify the data type. Suppose I'm mentioning the bit. So bit will have a value either 0 or 1. We know that this is a kind of a digital circuit. So it will have a value either logic 0 or the logic 1. Then comma. What is the next port remaining? That is the C. C, then two dots, that is the colon, and then its mode. What is the mode of the C? That is the out, right? Out, and then bit, which is the data type for this C. Now only three ports are there. So here we complete our list, then semicolon, and here end entity, or the end and underscore gate, right? End and underscore gate. So what is this we have written right now? We have written the entity for this given AND gate, right? Entity for the given AND gate. Now what we are interested, we have to write its functionality. Functionality means how AND gate behaves. Okay, how AND gate behaves. For that we have to write its architecture. So here the example of the architecture is shown for this particular AND gate. Okay, we have seen this syntax in the previous slide. The same thing we are implementing here. First is the keyword architecture. Then name of the architecture given is the gates. Gates is the name for my architecture. Then off is a keyword. And here AND gate. What is the AND gate? That is the name of the entity. So here I have given the same name for my entity. Is again a keyword. Begin. Now there is no any declaration we needed. So directly we have written a begin statement. Fine. Next is the process is written, process A comma B. So what is this process? See, we are going to see all these statements once again. Just we are going to understand the example here. So one of the example of the architecture mentioned. So process, it is one of the statement. Just like your if else statement we have in case of C, switch statement we have, do while statements we have, or the loops we have. In the same way, some concurrent statements are there in this VHDL. So process is one of them. Okay. So process, it is a one of the statement, and how we can mention its begin and the end. So in between its begin and the end process, the statements you write all will be the sequential. Okay, whatever the statements you will write, all will be the sequential. So process statement itself is a concurrent. Okay, but statement inside a process will be sequential. This is very important. If you are writing a two process statement in architecture, both of them will be executed at the same time, but statement inside them will be executed in a sequence. Okay, so how is the syntax for this? Process is a keyword, and in bracket, what is written here? A comma B. So what we call with to this A comma B, this is nothing but your inputs A and B, right? See, VHDL is not case sensitive. Okay, VHDL is not case sensitive. That's why capital A and small a both are same. So A comma B, this we call it as a sensitivity list. Sensitivity list means the process is sensitive for these two inputs. Sensitive means what? If A input changes, process starts its execution. Or if B input changes, process starts its execution. So when the process starts execution, it depends upon the change of the signal given in its sensitivity list. Okay, given in its sensitivity list. So A comma B, if any one or both of the signal changes, process starts its execution. Fine. So at any point, for how much time it changes, the execution immediately starts. Okay. Then begin is the first begin is the beginning of the architecture part, and second begin mention it is actually the beginning of this process statement. Now here we are mentioning the functionality of this AND gate you simply using if else statement, right? Simply using if else statement. So what is this here? We have given a truth table which is showing the functionality of the AND gate. So simply we are writing if A equal to 1 and B equal to 1, means if both the inputs are 1, then we know that my output will be equal to 1. Else output will be 0. So same thing is mentioned here in this four statements. If A equals to 1 and means the both the conditions must be true. Okay, if both the conditions true, then your output will be 0. Otherwise, your output will be 1. Otherwise, your output will be, here you can find end if. So here a start of if and end if. So there will be no any curly brackets, just like your CCPP. Okay, here it is the end process, and then next is the end architecture, that is the end case. Okay, so this is the example of the architecture shown where we are describing the working of the AND gate with the help of this if else statement, which are sequential statements. And the design specification we have used here, it is the truth table, right? We have a truth table, and from that we have written a code for that truth table using an if else statement. So this is one of the example of the architecture. Now this architecture, it can contain only concurrent statement. This is very important. So this architecture has only one concurrent statement, that is a process we have written. Okay, and this is your end of this is your complete statement. So this statement itself is a concurrent, but statement inside process are a sequential. Okay, so a design can be described in an architecture using various levels of abstraction to facilitate faster design, better understanding, and the lesser complexity. So we have a different levels of this implementation, and those are based on the different modeling style that we will see one by one. An entity can have more than one architecture. Very important. You can write a single entity, but your architecture there can be the multiple architectures you can write using a different ways of the modeling. Okay, there can be no architecture without an entity. So entities must, at least one entities must. Okay. So we will see what are the different modeling styles for this particular architecture. Okay, architecture bodies, the ways with which you can define the architecture. So first one, it is the behavioral modeling style. Okay, keep in mind this is one of the important questions generally asked in the theory in the previous exams. It was there in your written examination or the theory examination that explain the different modeling styles of your architectures. Okay, so the first modeling style, it is the behavioral modeling style, and the same example we have seen right now. So behavioral modeling style, it is also known as a high level of description. A high level of description. It consists of a set of assignment statements to represent the behavior. So it simply gives us the behavior of the system. So we have seen the AND gate example. How AND gate behaves: if both the inputs are 1, then my output is 1. Otherwise, my output is 0. This is the behavior of the AND gate, right? And that behavior we have mentioned in our code with the help of a if else statement. So this kind of the functionality representation is called as the behavioral modeling style. Okay, behavioral modeling style. So there is no need to focus on the get level implementation of a design. So during this implementation, whether I have seen what is the exact hardware now, AND gate itself is a basic entity. If you take a full adder, then how the full adder behaves. For full adder, if let's say half adder, if a and b both are 1, then my sum is 0 and carry is 1. So in this particular description or in this particular behavior, whether I know that what kind of gates are involved in this half adder, there is no any need. So whenever you are describing a behavior of the behavior of the design, we don't bother what kind of the get level implementation is there for that particular design. Okay, so there is no need to focus on the get level implementation. So this is the same example we have seen previously, the behavioral modeling style code for the AND gate. Okay, now next modeling style, or the second, I will say the second type of the modeling, which is a data flow. Okay, that is a data flow. This is the very easiest one we can say if we know the Boolean expression. Fine. So this data flow, it uses a concurrent signal assignment statements only. You can see for behavioral, for this behavioral, we are seeing the if else statement. So we need the sequential statements to describe the behavior. For this data flow modeling style, we only need a concurrent signal assignment statements. Okay. So you can see the example architecture, that is a keyword. Name of the architecture here, name given is the data flow, which is a user defined. Of AND gate is, begin is a keyword we know, which indicates the start of your architecture. Then there is only one statement present in your architecture, and what is that? C equals to A and B, right? This is right, true. Why? Because what we have done here, we have used the Boolean expression of the output, which is the output of AND gate. Output is C. And how the C is represented in terms of the Boolean expression? Simply A and B, where AND is the logical operator, right? Which performs the ANDing of the A and the B values. Fine. So in data flow, we just include the Boolean expressions in our architecture, and all are the concurrent signal assignment statement. Okay, concurrent signal assignment statement. So this is one of the modeling style, that is the data flow. Third one. Okay, now this one is the third type, structural modeling style. Okay, structural modeling style. So here components from the libraries are connected together. Designs are hierarchical, each component can be individually simulated and consist of VHDL netlist. So what is the meaning of this exactly? The meaning of the structural modeling style means, now whatever the diagram you are seeing on the screen, full adder, the implementation of the full adder using half adders. So for that we need a two half adders and one OR gate. If you are going for its structural modeling style implementation, then what you need to do, you are designing a half adder. Okay, you are going to write a VHDL code for the half adder. Then you are using that component. Okay, you are simulating it, you are compiling it completely, you are checking its functionality, and after that what you are doing, you are going to instantiate it two times. So I need this blocks of the half adder two times, so I need a two half adder. But for the individual functionality of both the half adder will remain same, the basic functionality of the half adder remains same. Similarly, I will design an OR gate. Okay, I will design an OR gate. I will compile it. I will verify its functionality, and that will be one module I have created. So now, what is the next task? I have a half adder design, a compiled design. I have a compiled design of a OR gate. Now, next task is simply the interconnections. Simply the interconnection. So I will take a I will take duplicate my half adder so that I will have a two blocks. I will make the interconnection as per the logic diagram given. So my actual two inputs A and B will go to the half adder, first half. Then the output of first half adder will go as a one of the input to the second half adder. So this kind of the interconnections will be done by the next level designer, and this will form your complete design. Okay, so which is a kind of a hierarchical, you can see. Initially you will design a lower level modules. I will design OR gate, I will design a half adder, and then I will make its interconnections. So that is the structural or the hierarchical designs where you just concentrate. We generally use the pre-compiled design units and we perform its interconnections. Okay, that is the structural design. Also, it is possible to mix these three modeling styles in a single architecture body. So if you concentrate on this three modeling styles we have seen right now, then if you check with the behavioral, then for behavioral you can say, if I have a truth table, right? If I have a truth table with me, then it is very easy to define the functionality in the behavioral terms, right? If it is the data flow modeling style, then for data flow, what you need? For data flow modeling style, you need the Boolean expressions, right? Boolean expressions. Then next one is the structural modeling style. So for structural modeling style, what design specification should be with you? That is your logic diagram. And these things you have seen in the designing of the digital electronics or digital circuits, that what is the truth table, what is the Boolean expression, what is the logic diagram of that. If you have any one of these specifications with you, then you are able to write your functionality of the design using these modeling styles. Okay, these modeling styles. So these are the basics of different modeling styles we use to define the functionality of our digital design. Okay, behavioral, data flow, and the structural. I'm going to show you the example of all these three codes. We have already seen for this AND gate. So I will show you it using a Xilinx, how we are doing it and how we are executing those particular codes. Okay. Next is the language elements. Okay. So this is the basic entities we have seen, or the basic building blocks we have seen, that we need to write in your code, VHDL code. So in my VHDL code, there will be the entity I need to write. There is the architecture I need to write. Okay. So in addition to that, what are the different language elements actually we need to use, like a data type, signals, variables, constant, that we will cover now. VHDL is a strongly typed language. Okay, strongly typed language. So typecasting or the conversion of, there is a strictly restrictions on this conversion of the one type into the another type. Fine. So it is not case sensitive. VHDL is not case sensitive. You can use the uppercase letter or the smaller case letters for a single variable name or the identifier. It supports a variety of the data types as well as the operators. So we will start with the first, that is the objects. Okay. So what is the objects in VHDL? You will also find the questions based on this objects in VHDL also. What are the different objects present, and explain it with the help of the examples. Okay. So you will come across these things whenever you are going to write. You must whenever you are going to write a VHDL course. Okay. So these objects are used to represent and store the data in your system, and this object contains a value of a specific type. For example, now one example is shown here: signal, count, colon, and integer. In case of your CU, how you define a variable? Int a, right? So where int is your data type and a is the name of the variable, right? A is the name of the variable. So in the same way, you can correlate these with this objects. So here object is your count. Okay. For this count object, its data type, its class is signal. Okay. And data type is the integer. Class is signal. So there are three different classes are there: a signal, variable, as well as the constant. So what are these? That we will see one by one. So the name given to the object is called as an identifier, and that is your count here. And the reserved words cannot be used as an identifier. This is a very common rule used for your identifiers in all the languages. We cannot use the reserved words as an identifiers in our code, right? Also, each object has a type and a class. So for each of the object, we can there is always two values associated. What is the class of that variable object, and what is the data type of that particular object. So class indicates how the object is used in your model. Okay, so it can, whether it is a constant value, whether it is a signal value, or whether it is the variable. Also, the data type, it indicates the what type of a data the object holds or it contains. So that is the data type. Now, which are the different objects? Fine. Which are the different objects available in this VHDL with the different classes? Fine. So we have seen the count is an object and it has associated class and the data type. Fine. So according to the class, which are the different classes available? One is a constant, second one is a signal, and third one is the variable. So these three different classes are associated with your object. Fine. And there can be the data types. We use scalar type of a data type, where you can have an integer type, real or the floating point. Enumeration we have seen in the C, and the physical. Okay. These are the subtypes of your scalar data type. Then we can have an access data type, file data type, also the composite, where we can mention the arrays. Okay. So for any particular object in VHDL, it has associated class. That class can have a values either constant, signal, or variable, as well as it can have a value data type associated with it, which is having a different types like a scalar, access, file, and the composite. Okay. So the first one is the constant class, right? Constant class of your data objects. So these are always, we know, constant means fixed value, right? Constant means fixed value. So these values will be assigned only once when we are going to declare it, right? We are going to declare it. And that cannot be changed during your program execution. So those will remain same throughout your program run. The example, how you can specify this object using a constant class. Constant is, it is the class, and the keyword we need to mention. Then name of the object is the burst width. Okay. Then colon. After colon, we mention the data type. So the data type is the integer. Fine. And after that, again, colon and equal symbol is given. Okay. So what is this? This is the initialization for that particular bus width. So 16, which is the integer value, and that will be initialized to this bus width, which is a constant. So whenever you will refer a bus width in your code, so at that time it will take a value of a 16, okay, which will be a constant throughout the program run. Similarly, constant clock period, whose data type is a time, okay, whose data type is a time, and the value is a 15 nanosecond. Value is a 15 nanosecond. So this is the way with which you can define the declare the different constant with the assignment of a values to that those constant. Okay, then this design changes at a later time becomes easy. So whatever the you uh, mention the values, those will remain fixed, and once the program complete execution completes, then you can change the values if you want for those constant. Okay, next is the signal. Now we have seen a constant. Constant means any value, suppose bus width of your bus width you are using in your design, that is going to be fixed throughout your program run, right? So which is a 16 bits in this case, suppose. So that bus width you can use the class constant. Okay, next is the signal class of the object. So what is the signal? It simply represent a wire which is interconnecting a two entities, two things together. Fine. So what you can say, this is a one AND gate, first AND gate, and this is the second AND gate. So output of the first AND gate is connected as an input to the second AND gate. So what is this? This is simply a wire we are using to interconnect the output of first AND gate to the input of the second. So what is that? That is nothing but a signal. So whatever the name you are mentioning here, that temp, it is nothing but a signal. Okay, so signal temp you can mention here with colon, right? And then you need to mention the data type. So here the data type I have mentioned here, it is a std underscore logic. So this is a one of the data type, built-in data type is there, where it is having a 8 different values, okay, in addition to 0 and 1. Forcing 0, forcing 1, weak 0, weak 1, unknown, high impedance state. So these are the different values we can have for that particular temp. So this is the same way with which we have declared the constant, but there is no any need to initialize the values to this signals. Okay, so this can be used to connect the design entities together and communicate the changes in values within a design. Okay, instead of the in-out signals. Also, each signal has a history of values, that it holds a list of values which include the current value of a signal and a set of the possible future values that appear on that particular signal. Fine. So this has a history of different values associated with the that particular data signal. And the next one is the variable, the third class associated with the object. It is a variable. So what is this variable? These are the objects with a single current value. Various signals can have a multiple values. Current value, in addition to that, can have a past values also, history. They are used to show the intermediate values between sequential VHDL statements. Okay, this is very important. This is used or associated with the sequential statements only. And where we write a sequential statements, we write a sequential statement in the process block. And so the place where we can declare the process, so it is used inside the process statement only. You can find here the declaration of the variable. Variable is a keyword, which is a class. Name of the object, it is a underscore int, then colon, and then we give the data type. So data type is the integer, and for this variable we are assigning a value 1. Okay, so where it is declared, you can see this is declared inside a process. So always keep in mind the variables you will find inside a process statement only. Fine. because it is used to store the intermediate values between the sequential statements. Fine. That's why they will be present inside a process statement. Now here your a underscore int contains the is a variable, and it contains the total number of events occurred on a signal a. So see, whenever your A changes, what is A? A is your sensitivity list. A changes, this will start execution. Fine. So this is going to show you how many times, okay, how many times there is an event or there is a change in this value of A. There is a change in this value of A. So that can be decided with the help of this variable statements. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm in the previous slide, ma'am. Signals slide.
Yes. 1 minute. Yes.
Ma'am, what is that port map AB, comma 10?
Okay, fine. See, this is the example I have just explained, the signal declaration, how it is done in the case of the architecture. Fine. Now, what is this? This code we have not seen. That's why I have not told you about this. So what is this port map? This port map, now we have seen the structural modeling style, right? What we are doing in the structural modeling style, we are using the pre-compiled unit and just we are making its interconnections. Fine. So for this particular design, if you see, this is the logic diagram. So how many modules are there? There are two modules are there, but actually there is only one module, and that is the AND gate. Fine. And that AND gate, you are duplicating it, right? You are duplicating it because for my design I needed two AND gates. So this is a kind of the instantiation. So this type of a code you will find in your structural modeling style. Okay, your structural modeling style. So what you are doing, this is the your label. Okay, U1, it is the first instantiation of your AND2. What is AND2? Whatever, this is the name of the entity of this particular AND gate. Okay, so you are going to use the name of the entity, which is nothing but the name of the component. Port mapping. Okay, port map, this is a keyword. So you are mapping the port. So A, B. See, your actual design, it has a two inputs A, B, and one output C. Fine. So where they are mapped. So your first input of A will be mapped with A, second will be mapped with B, and what is the output of this first AND gate? That is the temp. Okay, so this is the port mapping of this first AND gate. Second AND. Now you can see the same component I have used, AND2, AND2. Why? Because second AND gate is also similar. It is also two input AND gate, and functionality or the working of both the AND gates will remain same. Fine. So AND2 port map. Now you can see here temp is given, right? So temp is one of the input. Fine. Now second input. Now here something is missing. One part is missing here. You can suppose if I give the name same here A. Okay. So temp A, and here there will be C. Here there will be C. So what is there? Temp is now your first input, A is your second input, and C is your output. So this is the mapping you are doing. So right now, whatever the type of the mapping here we are seeing in the port map statement, that is the positional mapping. So whatever the position or the sequence you are mentioning in your entity or the component will remain same here in the port mapping also. Okay, we are going to write a separate codes for data flow, behavioral, complete code. Okay, so I will in next lecture tomorrow I will take a example of simply a half adder. Okay, and that half adder we will implement using behavioral modeling style, data flow modeling style, and the structural modeling style. Okay, so working is going to remain same, but how we are what are the different ways of writing the functionality for that half adder and how it differs. Okay, that you will come to know, and that you can compare with these three different modeling style. So you can find this kind of the port mapping in the structural modeling style. If else statement or sequential statement in case of the behavioral modeling style. And the Boolean expressions you can find into the data flow modeling styles. Okay. So tomorrow we will see the basic coding or the how to write a VHDL code. For that, we are going to use the Xilinx tool. Okay, Xilinx tool. Also, I will give the information about the practicals, what kind of practicals we have to study under this particular subject. That also we will introduce in brief. So you will come to know how we are going to relate this theory part with our actually practical part. Okay. So there are two different groups are there, group A practicals and group B practicals. So both are different. One is related with the front end designing, second is related with the back end design. Okay. So tomorrow we will take a one complete example of writing a VHDL code for one of the simple circuit of the half adder. Okay. Fine. We will stop for today. We'll take an attendance.